Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am here today to do a recent reads video. I have promised myself that I will do these more frequently instead of stacking up all of these books and then basically forgetting what they are all about or how I felt about them. So I wanted to go ahead and do this one as the last Vlogmas video. There will be, by the way, one more actual vlog that covers the kind of Christmas break weekend because that just didn't work out editing wise, but I'm still vlogging, so there will be one more vlog. It'll just come after Christmas. But I wanted to talk about the books that I finished in December because I have actually finished a few, so I'm doing all right on my end of the year TBR. Well, we're gonna start this one out with kind of a rant. I finished the second book in the Greatcoat series, which is Night's Shadow by Sebastian de Castell. So, first of all, I'm mostly over the fact that this is not the Three Musketeers. So if people are telling you this is like the Three Musketeers, don't listen. The Three Musketeers, to me, have a lot more, or really the Three Musketeers and D'Artagnan, have a lot more personality and camaraderie and like purpose than I feel like these characters do. And that might sound funny to somebody who's read these because they do. So these characters do have personality and purpose and camaraderie, but there's just something about it to me that is off. So I said this in a blog where I was kind of ranting about this while I was reading it. So I actually like most of the side characters. So I like Brasti and Kest. I think that they are interesting. I like Dariana and Valiana and the Tailor and those different characters. I don't like Falkio. I think he's horrible. I do think that he is one of the most self-righteous and irritating characters I have read in a long time. And I'm going to make comparisons to the Three Musketeers because that's basically what this series begs to compare to, and I think that that is not the right avenue. Because in the Three Musketeers and throughout the rest of the D'Artagnan romances, D'Artagnan is your narrator. And D'Artagnan is this really complex character with an interesting backstory, interesting morals, and all of that. Falkio is very one-dimensional, like super one-dimensional, and it's just like everything is explained away in just kind of what felt like to me lazy ways. And there are so many times in this series so far where the author does so much telling instead of showing. One of the examples is that they go to this town that has been basically decimated, and somebody picks up a weapon from that town, and that ties in later in the book in an important way. However, the only thing that we're told at the time is they pick up this weapon. So we're not told anything about the context of the weapon, the maker or the maker's mark. Nothing about this weapon is made to be important or even noted at all. It's literally just like, oh, she wants a bigger sword. But then later it comes into play that there's all these other layers to it that Falkio noticed at the time, but that he's just now putting the pieces together. Instead of giving the reader those pieces along the way, it's all just regurgitated to you through Falkio's memory and thoughts, which to me is not layered. It's basically, we just have to take Falkio's word at it instead of having seen the clues along the way, which, again, going back to the comparison of the Three Musketeers and this, Alexandre Dumas does a really good job in his novels of laying the groundwork for you to discover these things on your own, or for you to have the aha moment with the character. That's not present here. It's really like the entire thing is just one violent wet dream of Falkio's. Like, I can't express to you how much I don't like the main character. So now let's move on to something a little bit more pleasant. and positive. This was one of the next ones I finished, which is Snowdrift and Other Stories by Georgette Eyre. So I had never heard of Georgette Eyre, and now I'm kind of interested to read some of her other stuff. What this is a bunch of short stories that are like little mini Regency romances, but not in like a heavy-handed, like, I don't know, not in the way that I feel like most people stereotype romance or Regency romance. Like, this is all really cute. Like, it doesn't progress into the, like, whoa range of what people, I think, assume romance will. This is just really adorable and fun, and I actually rated most of these stories for 4.5 or 5 stars. There were a couple of 3-star ones in here that were just sort of like, eh, but like nothing that was less than a 3-star for me, and that's not, I would say that's not common for me when it comes to short story collections, so I really, really enjoyed this. Snowdrift, which is the first one, was just really, really adorable. A lot of them take place on the road between London and, is it Grinta Green, where like runaway illegal marriages happened over the border. So there's a lot of like post-chase scenes and funny end stories. There's one really dark one that took a turn I was not expecting, but that one was even done really, really well. So I would definitely recommend this if you're looking for something light and fluffy. It was the perfect thing for me to read around the holidays. They make it seem like it's a Christmas collection, but I think only the first story and maybe one other one are set around the Christmas holidays. So the rest of them are just kind of like set in regular times. So then I did finish this one, which is a collection of Charles Dickens' Christmas stories, including A Christmas Carol. I actually read A Christmas Carol 2 years ago, so I didn't reread it this year, but I read the other stories that were remaining in this. The main one of which was The Haunted Man, which The Haunted Man was really interesting and, you know, heavy with the morals, as Charles Dickens, I feel like, is from my reading experience of him. But I really enjoyed that one. The rest of them were kind of like Christmas essays, but they would just go off rogue on a tangent. So it's like we'd be talking about this gorgeous German Christmas tree and all the trappings and the little details, and then suddenly we're talking about a girl jangling rusty keys that's like a ghost, and how the horses wouldn't drink from the water because her body was there, and so now she haunts this house shaking her rusty keys and trying to open doors. And I was like, where are we? What is happening? So it would just, things would be like, yay, happy Christmas. What? We'd take this crazy side road. So I didn't super love those essay ones, but I would say A Christmas Carol and The Haunted Man were entertaining, and I liked them. And I will pick up other Christmas Carol collections of Charles Dickens. I decided not to read the other one that was on my husband's shelf this year just because I really wasn't in the mood for it. And so I just sort of took that off of my TBR shelf. But I am going to try to get the Penguin English Library edition of A Christmas Carol, and I think that probably has other stories in it as well. So if I get that one, then I'll read the other stories from that one. Basically all that to say, this was nice. Not my favorite, but still festive. And the last book that I finished so far in the month of December is Chainbreaker by Tara Sim. And this is the second book in the Timekeeper trilogy. So I read the first one, Timekeeper, year before last. So I've had this actually for a year and finally got to it. I don't know what was taking me so long, but so the first one in this series, Timekeeper, I thought was a little slow. Basically what the plot of this is, it's set in kind of like a steampunky London, and it's a little bit like alternate to regular London, because in this one, like, homosexuality is no big deal, which obviously in London at the actual time this was happening would not have been the case. But in the first one, Tara explains kind of why she did that. Danny's grappling with a lot of other things, so she didn't want to include that, and also, you know, let's look at things and how these things would have played out in a society that didn't care about your sexuality. So I like that aspect of the way that the plot is told. And then it's around these clock towers and these myths or legends about time itself, which the first one, obviously, we're world building a lot and we're getting to know the characters, so that one felt a little bit slow to me. I still enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the relationships that were built, but this one I felt like because we already have all that world building and character building, we jumped right into the plot. The first 2 or 3 chapters were a little slow, but then it picks up, and I did not want to put this thing down, which I technically didn't. So I listened to the audiobook of this, and I think I was like maybe 25% through it, and then I sat down and was like, I really want to listen to the rest of this, or listen to some of this, so I'm going to play a video game with the sound off and just listen to this book. I then ended up just listening to the rest of the book, like the last 75% of the book, because I wanted to know what happened, and it was fascinating. We get more from a perspective that we don't really have in the first book. I don't want to say anything because it'll be spoilers, but that perspective was very interesting and gave us some more backstory and myth building into this whole, how did this society of clock towers and time controlled by clock towers happen, and kind of it just built more on that myth of time, and it was very interesting. I already pre-ordered the 3rd book, and I believe it's coming the first week of January, and you better believe I'm going to be reading it, because the cliffhanger in this one was, oh my lord. Like, I need to know what happened next. And then the only 2 books that I am still reading right now are these 2. So, Girls of Atomic City, which was a carryover from Nonfiction November. I'm actually probably going to get the audiobook of this and listen to the rest of it on audiobook. I'm a little over a third of the way through this. It's interesting, but the narrative feels rather choppy, and so I get into it, and then we stop following that perspective, and then I get back into it, and we stop following that perspective. So there's just a lot of science-y things in here, and we don't really get a full narrative of any one character at one time. So I'm not sure I love the storytelling of this, but I'm still interested in the topic and the history, so I do want to finish this. And then don't judge me that I started and have not finished this, because I don't understand it myself, but I am about maybe 25% into Wondersmith by Morgan Crow. Wondersmith by Jessica Townsend. This is the 2nd book in the Nevermore series. And it's not that I'm not into it, it's just that I was prioritizing other books, because I know once I get into this one I'm going to race through it. So I'm hoping to focus on this one in the next couple of days and the next week, so that I finish this one before the end of the year. So I'm guessing, unless, you know, I get super into the audiobook, that this will be the only book that I carry over into January, but maybe this one. So these are the 2 books that I'm going to be focusing on in the end of the year. I'll probably pick up one of the graphic novels I get for Christmas, but other than that, I'm probably not going to pick up any other books, so The Muse is probably going to get carried into 2019. That is my update on my end of the year TBR and what I've been reading recently. Alright, well, this is the last Vlogmas video, and so I won't say I'll see you tomorrow, but I will see you the day after Christmas for my Christmas book haul. Alright, I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday, and I will see you next time.